Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Reach. Today, we're going to talk about social media. Yeah, you know what? I think we all need to learn a little bit more about social media because we can so easily get pulled into that rabbit hole. And what you thought was going to be, well, I'm just going to check Facebook, thinking it's going to be a second, turns into half hour, an hour, or even more. And if it happens to us as adults, why would we not expect the same thing to happen to our kids? So this is definitely something that we all need to learn a little bit more about, learn how and why. I think it's really pretty interesting too how, our brains actually have a chemical response that leads us, it's like fires off these hormones that cause us to want to continue. It's like having an addiction, right? It sends off the same type of burst into our brains, and it's reinforcing, right? And it is set up that way. It is intentional. If you've never seen The Social Dilemma, I want you to look for that on your TV. I'm pretty sure it was on Netflix, but you definitely have to watch that if you've never seen it. It will give you a whole new perspective if you don't already have this perspective on social media and the dangers. So we need to be aware of it because when we know something is dangerous, we want to teach our kids, right? We know that the top of the stove is hot, so we're going to teach them the top of the stove is hot. You don't put your hand up there because you could get burned. So we explain to them why you don't touch the top of the stove. We explain to them why you don't run out in the street. But you know what? We don't do a great job as parents, in the US anyway, of educating our kids about the dangers of social media. And it has an enormous outreach. Your house may not have a top of a stove that's hot on top very often, but social media is pretty much in your space all the time. So we need to make sure that our kids understand this. We also have seen more post-COVID, but it had been growing anyway over the last decade, a significant increase in teenage suicide. And there is a ton of research out there that is connecting that to social media and some of the experiences that young people have when they're on the different social media platforms. So it is very important. It is very serious. And I hope that in your home, you are taking it serious. Because yes, it can have positive effects. I know a lot of people with autism tell me how when it comes to communicating through text or through posting, they just feel much more able to successfully get their point across than if they had to verbally communicate it. So there are some people out there who just find freedom, if you will, in being able to do that. Because, when you are going to post something or when you're going to send a text, you get to think about it. Hopefully you're thinking about it, right? You want to think about it before you send it to make sure that is this really the message that I want to get out there to the world? So that's really a kind of nice thing because when we speak, especially when you're somebody like me who tends to talk too fast and I need to try to slow myself down, sometimes things come out and I think, ugh, I wish I would have gone a little bit slower on that one. So there are some benefits to social media. So I just want you to be mindful of it so that you can work with your kids to explain to them some of the hazards as well as talk to them about some of the potential benefits. All right, so the one thing that we want everybody to know is just like with a lot of stuff, as parents particularly, and youth. So youth, I'm really talking about, say, 9 to 20. Right? So in that ballpark in there. Making sure that they have a plan, because we all do better when we have a plan. So establish a media use plan in your house. So this could be like having very clearly defined and concrete guidelines on the use of social media. So that would include how much time online is healthy and what types of content is helpful versus harmful. Because, not everybody understands what is healthy and what is harmful. I mean, if we're talking about children, we're talking about children. So they count on us to help them understand how to interpret the world around them. So we want to make sure that we guide them, that we're not leaving it up to the world to teach them these things, because the world is kind of a mess right now, and they need to get their instruction on how to grow, how to develop, how to be good humans from the people that they love and they trust. And so there's nobody better than their families that are around them. You want to give concrete examples and maybe written or use pictures of the guidelines for the plan. So maybe you have a kid who's too young and they're not really reading, or maybe you've got a person in your home who's just not a reader, but they're really good with visuals, they're really good with following auditory instruction, or maybe you want to record it on a device and so that they could play it and listen. There's something called video modeling that I think is really pretty cool. I know when my son was young, one of the specialists that was working with him at school used video modeling, and it was, oh my goodness, it was so beneficial. It helped him develop his social skills, understanding the expectations of others, getting involved in a soccer game when the kids would run around on the playground during elementary school. So you could use the same thing, and just Google that. It's really, video modeling is an incredible resource and has astronomical potential. I don't think enough people use it, which is kind of sad because you see video all over. We got TikTok up and down all the time. But I think that video modeling is a really great resource to use, and you can help that with this plan. So you're going to educate your kid about the harms of social media, such as how to recognize negative or inappropriate content. Now, different homes are going to find content. So what somebody feels is appropriate, another feels is inappropriate. So you want to use your best thoughts when you educate your kids to, what is acceptable in your home and in your family, because that may be different from family to family. But you're going to definitely talk about cyberbullying and deception, because so many people can very easily get deceived by others. How many times do you get a friend request from somebody that you see the name, you know them, and you think, okay, wait, is this really them, or did somebody hack their account? So imagine being a child who doesn't have that ability to think, okay, wait, maybe this is somebody that hacked their account. Let me go and look at this account and see, does it look like a hacked account? A lot of people just get excited. Ooh, somebody else friend requested me, and they're going to click yes. And then they just allowed somebody that's potentially dangerous to have information about them. So you want to be on top of those things. The importance of never disclosing personal information online. Definitely don't want to do that, and you might even need to make a list of what are the things we don't tell people online. Our address, our phone number, what we do for a living, what mom and dad does for a living, where I go to school, the park I like to go to. So you want to make sure that they are aware of the things that they should not tell people that are online. And they may say, well, I know them. And if they tell you that, then you need to go on there and you need to look to see, is that actually, grandma or the lady who lives next door? You want to make sure it is somebody that you know and that you trust. Explain it in simple terms what bullying is, and use role play and concrete examples. Role play is so great. And a lot of kids, they love that. They think that's really cool that they get to act out. So you can tell them, okay, we're going to act out a scene about somebody getting bullied on Facebook. And I'm going to be and you're going to be and we're going to act it out. And you might even want to write a script. And listen, I know some amazing autistic adults who are actors, like knock your socks off. And so don't make the assumption that, they're not going to understand. It's really cool. We are working on a project called No Limits Global. And one of our board members interviewed a guy the other day who uses improvisation, to work with adults in teaching them social skills And it's just so cool. And I was like, as a bystander, I was just kind of watching and listening, and such an amazing concept. And so don't ever underestimate somebody with autism to get the job done, right? All right, so you're going to encourage your kid to ask whether specific content is appropriate or not. So you want them to feel comfortable coming to you. And I get it. That's huge, because, there's a lot of adolescents out there. They don't want to tell mom and dad anything. They don't want you in their business. So that takes a lot of practice. It takes conversation. It takes letting them know that you're there to protect them, because, they're kids. It doesn't matter if they have autism, they don't have autism. They're still kids, and they want to feel that they have some power and some control over their life. So they may be resistant to getting your input, but most of the time when you explain to them the dangers, then, they will be more likely to come to you. Tell them to refrain, so not to go through their clicking on liking and forwarding and sharing negative comments. They really shouldn't be doing that with anybody that is not their friend. And there's lots of stuff on social media that is sponsored, or it's an ad, and it's just seeking to get a like and a share. So making sure that they understand not to do that, and why. Don't just say don't do that. You want to explain to them why. Why don't we do this? If there's any bullying online that your kid shares with you, hopefully you are friends with them, or followers, or whatever you want to call it, on their social media accounts. And so monitor it. And if there's anything that even remotely smells like bullying, whether it's online or it's in real life, take that seriously. If it's any way connected to school, like that's how your kid knows this other kid through school, call the principal, right? You do not want to wait on those kind of things, because it is like a match that gets lit, and if you don't do something, that could grow into a forest fire in a relatively short amount of time. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention, because a lot of kids, the kids that we're talking about, they trust everybody, and they think everybody's honest. It's one of the reasons why some of the autistic adults I know struggle with driving, is because they know all the rules. If they were the only car on the road, they're amazing drivers. It's like lockdown. It's like perfect. But the world isn't like that. And you have to be a defensive driver to be a good driver. And some people can't wrap their brain around that. It's like, why don't they all just follow the rules? I don't understand. And so that's why we need to be there to teach them the skills, so that hopefully when they are an adult, they know the signs, they know what to look for, because social media is not going anywhere. It's only going to become bigger. Now I just heard the other day, we got this new thing coming on. So it's like there's always going to be something. So you just got to be aware of that stuff. You want to minimize or eliminate the use of social media in the bedroom at night, because it just, there's that research on blue screen, right? And it gets our brain firing off. We don't get good sleep. That's true for everybody. So it's good if you have a nighttime routine. Maybe you eat dinner, you take showers, bath, you watch a little bit of TV, it's family together. Maybe you play a board game, read some books, and then we climb into bed. So if you have time set up during the day where this is our tech time, that shouldn't be as difficult. But if in your house you're very used to, well, here's the device, here's the iPad, here's my iPhone, so that you can do what you got to do, right? You got to take a shower, you got to wash the dishes. But if you're giving them technology, then of course they're going to be wanting more of it, because again, it goes back to, it's like gives you your brain that addictive response. So that's why we have to be really careful with that. Okay. And then you're going to encourage in-person social interactions with family members and friends and stuff like that. So you have to make the world outside of technology reinforcing. And if the only space that the person gets interaction with others is online, then that's where they're going to go. So we all need relationships. And relationships, it's like what they call the spice of life, right? So being physically in the same space together. So maybe if your family goes to a church or a synagogue or a mosque, engage with them. A lot of them have like children's groups and things like that. Be part of that. Summer camps, after school activities, ballet, tap, gymnastics, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. There's all types of different activities that are set up. If you're an older person, there's something called meetup. Meetup groups are really, you can basically pick a meetup group for anything. If you like basket weaving, there's a meetup group for that. My son likes birding, right? So he's kind of got me into that as well. So birding, there's birding groups. There's a group for everything. And it's a great way to connect with other people who like the same stuff that you like. So you definitely want to check that out. If you've got children and there's children on your block, get outside. Get outside. Be the mom who has popsicles for everybody, or cookies, or whatever you want to do to get the kids in the neighborhood to kind of come around your home. We had the coolest swing set in the backyard. We had a basketball hoop in the front, in the driveway. And I was the popsicle mom. And I just think there's an enormous amount of benefit, not only for your kid, if your kid happens to have autism, but for all kids. You want to be that house where everybody congregates, because that is how you keep an eye on who your friends are, who they're melding with, who they're learning their social skills from. And then if you need to, you can intervene. But if you don't know what's happening, that's a problem. And that's true whether it's in real life or if it's online. So I hope this wasn't too scary for you, but social media is something that we really, really need to be mindful of. And just never assume that your kid is fine and that they understand, because kids are kids and they need our guidance and our support to make good decisions until they're skilled enough to make those good decisions for themselves on their own. So thanks for listening, and I will catch you next time.